My name is Fred Cook, and I drive school bus.
My name is Leanne Murchie, and I'm a school bus driver for TCAPS. It's been a very wonderful experience.
When I first hired in, one of the previous bus drivers told me that this particular job, driving school bus, is the best job on earth. So I immediately took to it, and I have to agree that this is one of the best jobs that anyone can do.
What prompted me in the very beginning, I have a college degree, and she said, "You're in the safest vehicle in the world on the road." So I thought, well, I'm gonna try. Because I would be on the same time schedule as my own children. And when they were off, I was off. When holidays, I was there. So it was the best of both worlds. TCAPS offers jobs elsewhere within the system.
Between routes, I used to, for 12, 13 years, I did lunch duty over at East Middle School, and now I paint.
They're real good about finding people the hours that they need during the course of the day to make the job great. We have Mesa Insurance. The whole district has it. It's awesome. It's the best health insurance. We offer a 401k. There's a sign-on bonus. It's a win-win situation.
The most important thing, I think, coming to work at TCAPS is you understand that you are part of a team. It's a part of a collective. It's not just bus drivers and then versus teachers. It's not that. We all are in this thing called education together.
If a person likes kids, generally likes kids, this is a perfect job.
So I'm talking to kids all day, and that experience is really heartwarming, and I continue to understand what it means to be a part of the community.
You are an educator. You have a chance to touch children's lives every day. And don't think that you don't. You are such an important part of the wheel of education.
All right, we'd like to welcome the audience and thank you for attending. Viewers may watch Board of Education meetings and Board Committee meetings live on TV 190 or online at tcaps.net/board. Recorded meetings may be viewed on demand at the same address. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we will end the public comment period. Moving on to procedural items, we are at the draft meeting minutes portion of the agenda. Are there any changes to the draft minutes?
No.
All right, hearing no changes, minutes remain as posted. Moving on to annual memberships, deferring to Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, so we every year we have a group of memberships that the district and the board belong to. And so formally we have to have approval to have the board represent for their professional development and opportunities the Michigan Association of School Boards. And so we do pay a dues fee to them for a district membership, as well as the legal trust fund. We do oftentimes get opportunities for legal services from MASB. And so this has that in there as well as again, all the benefits of membership. SAG's a part of that as a part of MASB, as well as so many of the conferences and professional development sessions that many board members I know have participated in. So we have that, as well as our annual membership with the Michigan High School Athletic Association. So that is for our high schools and now our middle schools, which was a change last year, are able to participate in all of the MHSA tournaments, playoffs. For instance, the middle school now has a large cross-country meet and a track meet, that our kids participate in. So this would also be joining the MHSAA for another year. So those are the items before you.
All right, and that goes on to consent, correct? Yep. Yeah. Any questions? All right, then that can go on to consent. Informational items, HR, deferring to Connie Taylor.
Good morning. First one is we like to celebrate those individuals who have completed the years of service requirements to acquire tenure in the state of Michigan. We get refreshments this morning.
Kind of needed refreshments.
All right. So, as you may or may not be aware, Michigan made some modifications to the Teacher Tenure Act a few years ago. So now teachers are required to serve a 5-year probationary period or 2 years if they have been previously tenured in another district. We have several individuals who've met those criteria. Rachel Fernandez, Emily Fetters, Kirsten Lietzma, Beth Myers, Tim Riemann, Vita Ruggiero, Aaron Smith, and Alexandra Trillett. The others, if you are a highly effective teacher for 4 consecutive years, you're able to waive that 5th year requirement and acquire tenure after the 4th year. And we have several individuals who've met that outstanding accomplishment. Leslie Anderson, Kelly Botkin, Emily Brinkman, Brooke Costella, Kathleen Ferguson, Lynn Freeman, Chelsea Gilpin, Colin Hall, Maggie Herod Birch, Kimberly Howie, Kimberly Kelderhouse, Danielle Oster, and Susan Ross Kelly. So we will also acknowledge them at the board meeting in the coming week. So congratulations to them. Also, I've included on my updates for all of you just some staffing updates, I should say. You will be getting communication later this morning, actually probably as we speak, relative to the West Middle School and assistant principal positions. We have been going through the selection process. I want to thank members of the West Middle School staff. We had quite a robust team that joined us for one of the interviews and then also with cabinet. And we're able to announce one of those selections to you today, but we're still working through completing the hiring process with the second. And we'll hope to announce that selected candidate later next week to not only the board, but the staff and the parents of West Middle School. Really pleased with the individuals that we will be recommending to the board for hire. Great caliber, some with contributions already to the district and others with strong administrative roots in not only Michigan but other states. So we'll be bringing those to you shortly. Our team is continuing to work diligently, and I always just like to put this out, hoping there are folks out there that are watching, that we do still have some critical shortage areas. We were able to secure some additional bus drivers last year, but we're still looking for bus drivers. So this is a perfect opportunity over the summer months for the district to provide the paid training for those individuals to be able to join our ranks in the fall as bus drivers. And then also, as you know, we're continuing to work different angles, and we'll talk about that when we get to the strategic plan update a little bit later, about some partnerships to identify areas such as special education, social work, that continue to be struggle areas for us to hire. So again, if anyone has any friends or family who are interested in locating to the Traverse City area in any of those critical shortage areas, we would love to speak with them about those. But otherwise, I feel like we're in a really good position with our staffing. We have had a few unforeseen resignations at the end of the year. That's pretty normal, not pretty normal, it's very normal, as people have secured movement out of the area, some military families that have been received notification of transfers, those sorts of things. So, but we have been able, through our current pipeline of student teachers and qualified support staff who have teaching certificates, to tap them on the shoulders to step into those vacancies. And we also have a couple posted, but I'm pretty pleased with the applicant pool thus far. So we will keep you posted on those, but feeling like we're in a pretty good position at this stage of the game. It's always a crazy rat race for us in June, July, and unfortunately sometimes August as well. But I think that the district has done a great job in terms of retaining our current staff, particularly in times when we do have declining enrollment, but placing them in additional positions where if we need to move staff around, we're able to cover when necessary. So, but that's all I have for staffing.
Did you want to go back and approve the agenda? We missed that. For the board meeting?
Oh, I actually thought it was coming up, but yeah.
You can go through.
Let's
Ginger's
go
part and come
through
back to it.
communication updates, and then
That's
then
fine.
we can put it
Your
in
call.
there, I guess. Sorry.
No worries.
Yep.
Okay, for communications, just a few things that I think you have heard of before, but just want to kind of give you an update on how things are going. We do have our yard signs out for enrollment this year. We ordered 100 signs. Some of them are school-specific, so it will say something like, "Ask me about Cortate Elementary," and it will have the logo and branding for the specific building. We also have some geared towards just TCAPs in general, and then we have some specifically for junior kindergarten and kindergarten. So we have those hopefully popping up in yards all around our district, and we do have a few extra, so any board member that would like one, you can grab one out of the hallway. They come with little stakes for the ground. So we're excited to see if that provides any just extra push for some of the summertime enrollment efforts. We are in week 2 of our Sunshine Bus. Week 1, we had 135 children stop by. And so far this week, we are seeing between 3 and 5 times the amount of kids stopping. So it'll be interesting to see what our week total is this week. Getting a lot of traction with that yet. We're seeing it being posted by community members online daily in various ways. So I think that it's really going to be a successful venture this summer. So we're excited about that and just very grateful for the partnership with the Father Fred Foundation for all the meals that they are providing us to distribute each week. We've got a couple amazing bus drivers who are all in and doing a great job of taking those routes every day and going from place to place. So very thankful for the team over there of drivers who are tackling this program with us this summer. And then finally, just for the Cherry Fest, we always have a lot of prince and princesses related to TCAPs in the parades. And this year, for something new, we will be adding a TCAP school bus to follow our high school band. So, and that will be in the July 8th parade. So if you are at the parade, please wave to our bus driver. So that's where I'm at with those items.
All right. Any questions on updates?
Yeah, I've been seeing this stuff happening on, like going past the big bus on over by West High School, and I was just like, oh, that's so cool. And it's been neat to see everything go out. I've seen it on Facebook a lot.
Yeah.
People have commented.
Yeah.
So good job.
Good, thank you.
All right. Then we'll come back, since I apparently missed item 3C.
It's a shorter meeting hopefully this
Yeah.
month, but not that short.
Short in items. I don't know if
Right.
it would be short in length. So yeah, go deferring to Dr. Van Wagner.
Okay, so we have our standard call to order pledge, our review of the agenda, public comment. We will have a legislative update, our tenure contracts, and a few district highlights. Board committee reports. We will have our board office hour report out. We will have our consent agenda that has currently on it, it would have the personnel Our recommendation is just, again, informational only, that is, based on the policy it sent you. And then our Board of Education calendar, we do have to publicly show our date for the organizational meeting. We have to have that approved by the board, actually, but it's fine in consent. Annual memberships, as we've discussed in our meeting minutes. We will have our second public hearing for our sex education curriculum, and we will have Dan here for that. That'll be the final time at that point, so you have the hearing, and then we will have public comment, and then we go right into as a discussion item. The first item is the approval of that curriculum. We will have also under discussion, a school safety update, district school bus purchase. This was reviewed by finance yesterday. We're still waiting on the exact final numbers for that. Christine was able to give a general idea of what it's likely to come in at, but we're waiting for quotes from 2 other companies. We have on the agenda to discuss the cell phones and electronic communication device board policy. It's essentially going to be a very similar presentation we had in curriculum. I think Flanoyan, feel free to speak. I think it was really good. We had our high school principals here to have that conversation, and I thought it would be good, and I know the committee did as well, to have the entire board kind of hear that and be able to give some thoughts and further feedback and direction for us on that. And then we have property offers. So right now we have property offer here for this building that we had to discuss that further. Under that, you know, the committee could create another line item, or just as it being property offer, could also discuss the Acme Township property if the board wants. I do feel like somehow I do need some discussion on that. I need to know, you know, and the administrative team, where to move further. Is the board interested in a commercial real estate agent? You know, do they want me to try and go back to Acme Township and renegotiate again?
Do you want to just add it as a separate discussion item, or
And that's
change
fine. Or
9
you can
or
change E
9E?
to add both.
Yeah, I would change 9E to just add both, and properties,
Yeah,
property discussion rather than property offer, and then just reference both.
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
But like I said, I wanted
Yeah.
you to make a decision. So, good with that? Okay.
All right.
All right, then we will have our second public comment, closed session, again at my request, for our quarterly periodic personnel evaluation. And then board president closing remarks and adjournment.
All right. And then I know that we've got coming up strategic plan update, and we don't necessarily need to redo the same thing again. But are you going to cover at least some of this in superintendent report, or
Of the,
of the strategic plan update?
again, you know, mostly it's gone through committees. All of the committees have seen that, and it is public at this point. So I can talk about, you know, what we've done in the committees, you know, and explain from that standpoint, and let people know where that's
I
at.
think that would be
That's
that
fine.
would be good. That way we don't have to rehash everything, but
Yeah.
we can let everyone know exactly where it is
Yep.
and what's.
And
been
if they
done.
want information specifically, they can go to that, watch that committee, and, you know, as it relates to the strategic plan and those specific committees. So for instance, you're going to see the HR and communications today. The curriculum committee saw all of the ones that were related to curriculum and instruction. Finance saw all of the ones related to bond, building, you know, plans, building, 3 to 5 year, you know, property discussion. All that happened in finance. So across the board, that all be covered from there. And I'll basically can explain that in my superintendent's report, let everybody know again the link, and.
I think that would be fine as long as
Okay.
we just have a reference of where
Yep,
it is.
we can do that.
Because I know it's, like a lot if you put them all together. We don't want to do that.
I've seen them all now. I'll see them all after today.
Right, right.
No, it's
Ollie's
nice-
been, Ollie's been,
Very
you
nice
know.
to be familiar.
That's right.
It's good learning.
So that's it for the agenda.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Then, oh, geez. We'll move on now to item 5, jumping around on to the Compass Strategic Plan update to Vern Dr. Wagner.
Okay, and again, we've had the chance to really give some updates in the other committees, and so we will have communications and we will have HR. So I'll have Connie go first to talk about the goals specific related to our HR and recruitment and retainment and those goals. So I'll pass it over to Connie.
So I provided you at the beginning of the meeting, I printed them off because I'm a visual person, but this is the same document as the outward facing that our community can have access and the board can have access to in real time. So you can see as we're making progress towards our goals, you can watch as we check some things off and also tweak and add different initiatives, strategies and objectives. But the 2A is the one that's primarily focused around HR. And the goal is to attract, recruit, and retain a diverse and robust employee workforce to provide a world-class learning environment. And under that, we have identified 4 objectives. And I just kind of want to walk through the objectives with you and the progress and strategies that we've identified thus far. Knowing that this work for us, we love to check boxes. Who doesn't? I actually walk around with my little handy dandy notebook and make lists so I can check things off. But the thing about the work that we do, it's always going to be ongoing. So while we're able to identify some things that we can tell you that, yeah, definitively that's completed, know that most of this is going to be not only through the strategic planning process, but through the life of TCAPS, that we're always going to be working towards this goal. The first objective that we've put under there is to create through community partnerships a welcoming and inclusive environment, which establishes TCAPS as an employer of choice in the region. As you know, we are the second largest employer in the Traverse City area. We not only want to be one of the largest, but one of the best. So a lot of this is going to be contingent on the area, the community, and I'll get to that in a minute. But this first objective really talks about what can we do internally to make sure that we're creating within TCAPS an inclusive and welcoming environment. One of the things that we know is that we help to lead and facilitate the hiring process. And so to that end, the members of our HR team that are involved in that have gone through implicit bias trainings so that we can help guide questions and conversations in our interviews to identify, are there things that we're looking at that perhaps we could look at in a different way? And I'll just give you an example, not from this organization, but previously. I sat in on interviews and one of our candidates was running a little late and ended up bringing their child to the interview and apologized profusely and said, "I'm sorry, my daycare fell through at the last minute." In those interviews, after there was over, one of the candidates or one of the interviewers said to me, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to go down that pathway. You know, this person may not be as reliable as we would like them to be." And we needed to change that thinking and say, well, I see it differently. I see a person who was so committed to being here that she did whatever she needed to do to get to the workplace. Hired that person and ended up being one of our best employee hires of that year. So these are the types of dialogue and conversation that we want to help to lead and facilitate, and also to invite some of our other members of our team of our administrative staff and interview participants to also engage in that training. Looking at our job descriptions, our job postings, sometimes we include language that, unbeknownst to us, will actually exclude people from wanting to apply. So we're really looking at all of that, saying, is there room for growth? Are there other pathways that we can bring people into education outside of just your standard college education, requirements of the master's degree? So sometimes you'll notice on our postings, we're putting preferred as opposed to required to encourage a wider pool of candidates to apply for our vacancies, knowing that if we get the right people here, we can help grow them into the professionals that they can and will be for TCAPS. So that's something that we're looking at. A lot of this internal work is very much already embedded in the HR strategic plan that we have developed over the last couple of years, and I was very fortunate to have inherited from my predecessor, Cindy Burke. So we continually look at that and update it. It is linked on the master document, so if you want to be able to dig a little deeper into some of the HR strategies and initiatives around that, you can also click on that link as well. You'll notice on there we talk about creating a team that's dedicated to diversity and inclusion initiatives. This past year, we did create an HR as a participant in the Climate and Culture Committee, and that is their primary focus. And again, we're continuing to do outreach for our staff. We have a number of great teams in this organization, and we put out for participation and membership. And largely what we find is we have a lot of our great teachers who engage and offer to be part of those teams. What we want to do is tap people on the shoulder who may not necessarily be the direct instruction providers, but who are supporting instruction from behind the scenes, so that everyone knows every voice in this organization is important and matters as we look at where we want to go in the direction organization of the district. So we've really been trying to do that. If we don't get people from a cross-section of the organization, reaching out to people and inviting them personally to be part of the team process. Looking at objective number 2, the sourcing, selecting, screening, onboarding highly qualified employees through a variety of channels in order to efficiently and effectively meet staffing needs. We've implemented a new system, whereas if we have candidates that we think have potential for the organization, we actually ask them to do a video that addresses certain questions. And so we have this pool of pre-screened individuals that we can send that video out to a hiring administrator and say, this is someone that we're considering for your position. Here's a pre-screened interview. So that even if we don't currently have a vacancy in their subject area, we're creating a pool of pre-qualified folks that we can easily reach out to in the event that an unforeseen vacancy comes up. So that's one of our initiatives. We're expanding our outreaches to colleges and universities for participation in job fairs. Specifically this year, we're going to look to identify some, maybe not even in-state, but out-of-state colleges and universities with a larger diverse candidate pool in their teacher preparation programs or some of our other critical shortage areas, so that we can reach out, talk to them about Traverse City area public schools. Unfortunately, the state of Michigan right now has a significantly lower number of teacher preparation program graduates, and of those, only about 7% identifies as being members of a protected class. So the pool itself within our state is very, very small, and so we need to look at other areas that we can potentially to tap into as a resource. So we're looking at doing that. One of the other great things a lot of districts have engaged in are grow your own programs, and TCAPS has been highly committed to that. We have a 100% tuition reimbursement program for our critical shortage areas that started a couple of years ago, but we continually look at, are there other areas that we can expand it into? So right now, previously it was around social work in ELL, English language learner programs. We've expanded it this year to also include special education, social work, ELL, and now ASL, American Sign Language. Again, areas that we have a high need for in our district, but have a terrible time. And as we go through, if additional areas pop up, that it's at the discretion of cabinet to identify those that would qualify for the 100%. Otherwise, the contract does allow for 50% tuition reimbursement for all other subject area endorsements. So that's been very, very popular within our district, with a number of people taking advantage of that. Leadership Academy, career pipeways, we are looking at those processes within our district. Are there ways that we can grow our own future leaders within our organization? Previously, the district did have one of those programs, but it has kind of gone to the wayside the last several years. We're looking to reinvent and reinvigorate that program. And then we're looking at our sub pool. So far, we've been very lucky in terms of our day-to-day subs going into our buildings, knock on wood. Obviously, we have our challenging days towards the end of the year, those sorts of things, but for the most part, our teacher fill rate has been quite strong. But the other area that we want to continue to reach out to, and we are doing, is our retirees. Changes in the pension system now allows that after someone has a 9-month waiting out period, they're able to come back with no earning limitations. So we have postcards, we monitor who's met that 9-month waiting period, reaching out to those folks to say, would you like to come back either on a day-to-day basis or any long-term subbing opportunities that we have for the district? So that's definitely an area that was limited before because people could not make more than 1/3 of their previous. Now, if they're saying, hey, I sat out for a year, it wasn't my thing, retirement's not sticking with me, we can potentially bring them back into the fold. The third objective is to become an active member of our community-wide coalitions to ensure that we're a welcoming and inclusive community. As I mentioned earlier, we are an employer, but we sit in a larger community. So how are we participating in making sure that Traverse City, in and of itself, as an area, as a community, as a city, is inviting for people to come in? And so that's being part of multiple Chamber of Commerce organizations, other community-based leadership organizations, so that we're a voice at the table to say, where are some of the areas that Traverse City really could improve to be a much more welcoming environment to people with a diverse background. One of those things that we're doing, and I thank Kendall for her work on this, is doing a gap analysis. And we've linked in the master document, a document that's starting to identify what are some of the resources available to individuals in protected classifications. And so, looking at what are our churches, what are our community festivals, restaurants, food markets, beauty industry. So I think one of the things people understand that not everyone has Caucasian hair. You know, so if someone were to move into the area, do they have the resources that they need to feel comfortable and welcomed, and that we can provide for them? So we're starting to collect those that we can provide out to potential applicants of, here's some great resources that we have here available to you in Traverse City. And if we have areas of deficiency, share those as part of our participation in these community organizations to see what we can do to potentially get those resources available to individuals moving to our area. And then lastly, objective 4 is seeking engagement opportunities and feedback from employees. This is really goes to that retention piece. It's one thing to recruit folks here, but we want to keep them here. So how are we doing that? Part of it is our survey data and talking to individuals about what are we doing right and what could we better do to support you as team members here at TCAPS. So we are working with our curriculum and instruction team on the engagement survey, which will go out once a year, and we'll also now embed some human resources related questions so that we can use that data to guide our work. We're reviewing our onboarding process. I think we have a really good onboarding process for when people first come in, but we're also noticing what are we doing for these folks ongoing. It can't be a one and done. So we're gonna start doing reboarding processes, touching base quarterly with our new staff to say, how are you doing? How are you feeling about your job? Are there additional resources that you know? Because one thing that we've learned is that first month of school, people don't know what they don't know. They don't know what questions to ask. So doing an onboarding survey at the end of the year saying, if you could have something at the beginning of the year that you didn't know that you needed, what could we provide for you? And we'll do that annually so that we're continually looking at best practice and how do we make sure that our staff feel supported as they come into our community. We're looking at reintroducing a staff recognition program that will really involve the board. Nominees for staff members of the month, those are things which we hope to celebrate at the board meeting. We've got great work. I know we do employee recognition, but sometimes being nominated by your peers and recognized some of our unsung heroes, not just our instructional staff, of course there'll be great candidates for that, but across our organization, are there things that people are doing for kids that we really need to do a shout out for? So celebrating all of our great team here. One other area that we've discovered that is very difficult for our staff is daycare. So this past year, the organization made the decision to give our staff first preference for enrollment in our before and after school programs. That was highly appreciated by our team, because that tends to be a big struggle for folks in our workforce and our community in general. So again, another area that we'll continue to have conversations with in our community partnerships, but what can we do internally? So those are our 4 objectives that we wanted to bring to your attention, give you a little brief update on our progress towards them, and open it up for any questions that you might have.
I do. You said you intended implicit bias training. Who did you do that through?
So I've gone through extensive personally, but our team sought out implicit bias training through one of our, through Troon last year. And then we're continuing to look at additional resources for ongoing training.
Great. That was going to be my second question, because
Yeah.
we know it has to be ongoing.
Yes.
Things change like quickly all the time. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And then let's see, when you talked about the gap analysis and resources available to unprotected classes, I wanted to offer that I have a lot of that information available. So with different organizations that I work with. Yes, so feel free to reach out.
Hopefully, please, if you have an opportunity, click on that, because there's a number of resources that we've identified for Indigenous individuals, but I'm sure there are a lot more that we can't find.
We
just
have it
through
for all of our protected classes.
That's
That
amazing.
we're building, in some of our organizations, we're building those lists.
Love
and
it.
we have them available.
Love it, thank you.
So, yeah.
I'll
And
reach out.
what I forgot to mention too is that we have created an HR-specific Google site. So all of these resources, we're linking there so people can go instantly and find them.
Oh, good.
And we're also sharing them out with offer letters, you know, in addition, we send out housing opportunities in the area. But these are additional resources that we will send out to our candidates with our offer letters, just
Yeah,
so
it
they
makes a
have.
huge difference, I know for, you know, you mentioned just the hair thing, and I'll use that as an example. We've had that cited to some of us in groups, like, we came and then we left.
Yeah.
Because there just wasn't stuff here for us.
And that was
And-
really my experience downstate too, you know, even in the Grand Rapids area, which is much more urban, we were able to recruit. The retention piece was difficult because folks did not feel that they had that community that perhaps that they had in their hometowns or areas that they had relocated from.
Oh,
So,
good, well, see, yes, we have the social community
There we
going
go,
on.
love it.
All right.
Thank
So-
you. Again, those community partnerships, so we'll continue to
That's
reach
right,
out.
that's right.
Takes
And
a
then-
village, right?
It does, and that's why we're doing it, so we want good people here. The other part that I was gonna ask about, I noticed under the data to support goal, which was under 2A, the very bottom part of that with the 40%, was that before or after the recent negotiations?
That would be before.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
That would be our last survey.
I was gonna say, I'm hoping that's changed, and have we followed up with that one?
So this is always an area that we talk about, and I've obviously never sat at a negotiation table where folks have said, we're paid plenty, don't worry about that. You know what I mean? Let's talk about other things. I mean,
Right.
we have seen, particularly in this area, the cost of living increases, you know, somewhere around anywhere between, I think that it was 5.6% to 8.3%, somewhere in the area over the last couple of years. So extraordinarily difficult, given as a public employer, to keep up with these soaring inflation rates. And I know the district is really trying to put those dollars towards our staff. The majority of our overall budget does go for salaries and benefits, but it is a challenge, particularly with the rising cost of housing in this area. It will always be a challenge. So that's always going to be a focus area. I'm not sure that in my lifetime we'll ever get to that place where I sit at a bargaining table where people say, don't worry about that, we're good. But please know that we're mindful of it, which is why we came to the board this year and you guys supported so wonderfully, you know, looking at taking dollars from the fund balance to increase compensation for staff to try to chip away at that inflationary rate.
Yeah, oh, it's tough. It's tough here, yeah. I mean, it's just an expensive place to live, unfortunately.
Ticker article this morning on housing.
Right. So, but thank you for answering, because I was kind of hoping that was the answer that you were gonna give me, and it made more sense.
Yeah, we didn't do it right after. No,
Right.
that wasn't it.
I was like, oh.
But John, I don't know if you want to mention, Dr. Van Wagner has been part of a housing coalition too. He's been much more actively involved in the housing conversation, so.
Yeah, we're right in the mix of it. We are actually, yesterday and today, we are meeting with developers to choose a developer, to work with MISTA and MEDC to try and do a housing project next to Blair Elementary School. So it's gotten real serious. You know, initial phase, probably 60 units, but up to 500 units is the conversation right now. And so at least the initial 60 would be reserved for educators within our community, which is teachers and support staff. So getting exciting in the conversations and seeing drawings and what that could look like and how they're really trying to address making it affordable, attainable from that aspect. So, you know, lots going on in that realm, and we're hoping that this thing comes to fruition. We're pretty optimistic right now.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Connie, thank you so much for this report and all the work you and your team do for the inclusion of our students and our staff and future employees. It's excellent.
Well, I have to just shout out, I have the best human resource team I've ever had the privilege of working with. So if anybody can move this work forward, it's them. So we're excited about it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we doing 2B or are we skipping them?
2B
Oh, sorry,
was
that
done
was
already.
just a rough.
Okay, we're just
2B
doing
was
that
done
one.
in finance.
Perfect.
This
Yeah,
was
sorry,
on
that
the
just
same
bled
sheet
over
that
onto
we
my
I just
page.
wanted
printed
to
off.
check on that because it
Yep.
was sitting there.
So now we have communications now.
All right.
Okay, so basically with communications, we have 3 goals that we will go over today. We looked at 3A, 3C, and 2C. And I have to say, both 3A and 3C, there's a lot of overlap on there, so you're gonna hear some of the same initiatives twice here. So 3A is to analyze and improve communication systems to establish a culture of collaboration and transparency. And basically with that, in order for us to, as we went through and determined all of these initiatives that we would, in our minds, want to move forward with, we really took a step back and determined that what we need first is to conduct a stakeholder survey and to do a communication survey of our community. And through there, we will then be able to continue to move forward in the initiatives that the community said, this is how we want you to reach out to us. So we intend and assume that we're on the right path, but as we put this together, we are keeping our eyes open on developing an app for the district, which would really just be helpful. I know as a parent, a lot of times I need to know, what the lunch menu is or where the football game is or whatever. And rather than to go online and find the school and then find the calendar, to just be able to have an app would really simplify so much of those touching points that parents use the website for. So that's one thing that we're really making a lot of lists with right now in terms of what are our hottest touched items on the website and what do parents utilize our website for the most. And so we're just taking a lot of notes on that to ensure that we are building it in the way that the community would find most useful. We're also looking at a blog. The idea of the blog is that there's always been this issue of, are we being as transparent as possible? And even though it feels as though we are always striving so hard to ensure transparency, if you aren't part of a conversation, sometimes that question can be lost or assumed. And so we thought by having a blog, we could have questions that the community struggles with finding out information on, and we could have guest writers from around the district to provide a more in-depth write-up about some of those questions that the community seems to repetitively be asking. So it would just basically be a way to further enhance our transparency and allow for searchable topics that people could read more in-depth information on. So with that, one of the examples, for example, would be with our school resource officers. If that is to be a thing, that would be a fabulous way for us to really enhance and explain a lot of the safety and security measures throughout the district, and we could really emphasize all the work that is being done through that type of initiative. So that's one of the areas that we're looking at. And then with 3C, there's a lot of carryover. That goal is to engage and collaborate with the community to address resources to the district leading to student success. And so basically, we need to ensure that we do develop communication systems. And so again, that's where you do see, are we looking at an app? Are we looking at a blog? Are we changing our website in ways that have improved readability? So we will be going through our website and doing checks to see what the readability level is. And we know that websites should be written at around a 4th grade reading level. And so just ensuring that we're not writing for too limited of a crowd, to ensure that we do have information available at that recommended level. So how we communicate with community members who do not have kids in the district is one of our largest components to this goal as well. We need to find ways to communicate with the entire community, not just our parents and not just our staff, but our community as a whole. And so what ways and what avenues can we take to really ensure that we reach our entire population? We're looking at ways of doing that through coffee hours, social media enhanced initiatives. Social media is really interesting in the fact that you can really take a population that you want to reach and utilize the right social media outlet. For example, the families who are new to preschool, we know that that would be an Instagram family. And our Instagram has really increased. This year alone, we had a 113% increase on our new page likes in the last year. So, which, last year we had a 23% increase on Instagram, so it's continuing to grow and grow. But to know that we knew we needed to attract that population, so we were, very direct in our approach, and to see the growth at 113% lets us know that we're going in the right direction on that. So that's exciting to know. We do need to work with maybe the older generation and our retired community a little bit more, and that's one area that we will really strive to come up with some great ideas as to how to connect Dr. Van Wagner with that community, how to host events that would maybe highlight some of the opportunities within our district through music events, or the Patriot game is a big one, things of that nature. So lots of excitement kind of building around there, but those two goals are very heavily intertwined. And then we have 2C, which is to implement strategies to attract and retain students, leading to sustainable enrollment. And a lot of these initiatives are already in play.
Ginger, we have it up here on the board, so they can see it now, so you can talk through it.
Oh, okay. So we do have, I gotta see what you're looking at there. Sorry, my eyes are, my eyeballs.
It's right behind you too, if it helps.
I think you want to scroll down a little bit.
Okay. Oh, we've got,
As well as all of the.
we've got 50 First Dates and Fast and Furious, so. I could have brought it up on my screen if that's, So we're definitely looking at preschool through this, and so working with NMCAA and Northwest Ed Services to do a lot more work with preschool. We know that once we engage with a preschool family, that we are going to continue to serve that family. So it is definitely an area that we want to ensure complete success with, and put a lot of our initiatives in that regard. And to be very, out and about in the community, which will also reach that same population. You'll know that we did do the parade, the Christmas parade. That was our first attempt, and kudos to Scott for his help at the Christmas parade with all the lights, because it was a learning experience for sure. And then just our first attempt here at participating in the Cherry Parade. So that is a new initiative that will hopefully kind of connect us with some of those younger families who are still making decisions as to what opportunities they may have for education for their youngest learners. And then to have the coalition, so to speak, within our community to be inclusive. That is, of course, also something that we look at when we are doing social media, and to ensure that we are covering all the grounds for the different ways to be attractive to the community. And we also work a lot with the executive team to look to see if there are opportunities for DEI work in the community. I know Dr. Van Wagner is also looking at some work in that regard. We do have online enrollment now, which was a new initiative this past year. We had not had that in the past, and so we started that with our kindergarten and junior kindergarten enrollment. We had it previously for only preschool, so that was a good success in the right direction. And just basically promoting the variety of programs, our specialized STEM programs, for example, and all of the work that goes into those specialized programs to really just put a highlight to so much of the work and improve our website, knowing that families who are interested in those programming opportunities will look there first. So to ensure that we have really good photos, really good videos, and highlights to cover all of those opportunities for students. So basically, that is the objectives. If there's questions, I'm happy to answer.
I didn't know we had an Instagram account, so I just started following TCAP News.
I did too, I just
So
followed
good,
and
two
shared.
more, see? Yeah, so you would probably be in our Facebook,
Not on
Category.
Facebook.
you're not on Facebook.
I was cracking up because I'm looking at her face as you're talking about, okay, so if they're in the preschool, they're the Instagram group. And I'm like, oh God, I'm in the Facebook. You know, like I'm totally in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
But,
Well,
The
and we-
TikTok group.
I,
Yeah, well, I know, well, and it's a joke in our office because I'm like, who wants to tackle TikTok? You know, so.
Get some interns.
Yeah, summer interns, there we go. And if, with Facebook too, I mean, this year, we've had a 59% increase in our Facebook following. And last year, we had 51%. So if you take that year over year, I mean, we are just seeing growth leaps and bounds in our social media presence across all forms, so.
And I love the idea of an app. That would be a
It'd be
great
handy,
idea.
wouldn't it? Yeah, as a parent, there's so many times that I'm like, why don't I just have an app for this? So,
Well,
yeah.
And you know, as a parent myself, one of the things that I've always said is I look out for the updates, you know, in my email, but I don't always get to read them because I get 100 emails a day. But I do get the texts. And so if I get the texts on an app or notification on an app, I'm going to be way
And
more
we learned
inclined
that
to
in the
look at it.
strategic plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
We learned that most people wanted to be contacted by
Yes.
text.
Yeah.
That was something that we learned to do school communications through, different things like that. That was the number one way.
And so this year, we did increase our texting.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah, I mean, it is. It's a little invasive sometimes, but it's,
Yeah.
any text is really, but it's like for those updates.
Right.
Easy click.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's
Best way to
great.
get there quickly.
And I love the idea of the transparency through the blog. You brought up the school resource officer, and, you know, one of the things that I read in one of our reports was about how that, or someone mentioned it, I think it was, maybe O'Brien mentioned it, but how they're coming from a specific academy that is a school resource officer academy, which is
Program, yeah.
different
Yeah.
than the normal, you know, police officer in school sort of thing. So like, that is something that I think would be great on a blog, because parents don't understand that they are getting that specialized training,
Exactly.
which is different.
Exactly. And it's not just a piece of information that would be floating out there. So to
Right.
be able to do some deep dive content creation on some of those more random topics might be a really cool way to engage community. Just have to get everybody on board with writing for us, so that'll be good.
Good. Thank you for your report.
Yeah, thanks. All right, no other questions? All right, any other items? All right, the next board executive committee meeting is Thursday, August 3rd, 9 a.m. in this room. With that, we are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.